Let's take a look and see what's going on here.
Guys, this politician just had such an insane crash out. You got
Oh, wait, that says it right at the top. Hang on. Hang on.
guys, this politician
Australia. Okay, this is Australia. It is not the US. This is in Australia, which, as we know, that's one of the leading places that is trying to do these ID laws. Started with the UK, and then it's going to Australia. And Australia is also the country that wants you to have to log in, Australia is the one that wants to be able to track you through GPS. Australia is the one that's been trying to make it so if you try and use GPS on your phone, you have to log in to use GPS on your phone. And yes, it's also where Collective Shout operates out of.
politician just had such an insane crash out. You gotta see this. The context is in Australia, similarly to what we've seen in the UK, the EU, the US, etc., etc. The government is trying to essentially remove anonymity on the internet and censor the internet, trying to control the population.
Oh my God. It will require, I fucking said this was going to happen. It will require all Australian users to provide assurance of their age when they sign into a search engine account. I said this is going to be UK, not Australia. They literally, to just use the fucking internet, they want you to basically face ID. To just use the internet.
This is the worst thing Australia has done since Vegemite.
And that's not the right TTS. It didn't give me the alert. Hang on. Okay, hopefully that one will work properly. I hope. Make sure everything is back up properly. Okay. I mean, it worked, thankfully. Should be good now. I did.
What many would say is governmental overreach. And so we'll just read the first few paragraphs here from theconversation.com, then get to the clip of the politician crashing out. They say, by the end of this year, the experience of using search engines in Australia won't be as simple as it's always been. That's thanks to a new online safety code announced yesterday by Australia's e-safety commissioner Julie Inman-Grant. Among other measures, it will require all Australian users to provide assurance of their age when they sign into a search engine account. Many criticizing this, pointing out how this means that simply even like Google Maps, for example.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is going live. Oh shit, this isn't something that was voted on. This is going into effect by the end of the year. This is going into effect within a couple months. Because this was done by the e-safety commissioner, which maybe does not need to go through the same governmental process. It's not like it's a law. So this is happening. There's not like, okay, it's a vote or anything like that. This is literally getting rolled the fuck out. And so now Australians will need to do facial ID of some sort just to use a search engine. That is fucking dystopian. Well, but Garrett, they have to match to the face. That's the thing. Submitting a birth certificate doesn't have your face on it.
Many criticizing this, pointing out how this means that simply even like Google Maps, for example, will require users to submit their biometric data for this so-called age verification, because how dare people who are not adults use Google Maps? It's all kinds of absurd. But okay, how does that...
Yeah, and by the way, just as a reminder, this is for the children, because they actually said it in right here. It's to implement appropriate age assurance measures for account holders. It's all for the children, chats. Fucking bullshit. As always, anytime anyone from the government says it's for the children,
So that was a fucking lie.
absolute fucking lie. And now the people of Australia are now, like the UK, are starting to live under an authoritarian government. The Australians are going the route of the UK, so you need to use facial ID just to use the internet. For the kids, of course. Fucking bullshit. This is an attempted authoritarian takeover. And bearing in mind, don't forget, just because you change, well, actually, I'm thinking Australia might be starting to head that way too. UK, yes, is ready to fucking explode. Australia could be right along the right there with them. Because when you start telling Australians, yeah, if you want to use the internet, you have to give up your Face ID just to use the internet, just to use Google or Google Maps, yeah, that's not going to sit too well with people.
Relate to this politician, Senator Lambie, having this crash out. Well, she's very upset at people who are criticizing the government, who are pushing back against these regulations. How dare you not let the government control you in every way, shape, or form? How dare you try and stand up for yourself and the people? And so Integrity says, you just have to laugh.
I know.
Senator Lambie leads an unhinged rant that Australians are calling out lies of the government, then pushes disproven false flags, then says Australians need to be censored. Then in the same breath complains about false information from government and laws need to be put in place to ensure truth from politicians. In her view, the way to calm everyone is to censor everyone.
Okay, yeah. Ensure truth from politicians. If that's not a massive fucking red flag right there that she's lying, I don't know what is. Leave us not forget the scariest fucking line in human history is I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Ronald fucking Reagan, man. He was calling this back in the fucking 80s. Back in the excuse me. Back in the early fucking 80s, Ronald Reagan was calling this the fuck out. And the world has forgotten his words. Especially in the UK, Australia, and the EU.
It's these very deranged views that cause extremism. Silencing discourse of a population never leads to peaceful outcomes. And so the first 2 minutes of this clip is her actually bringing up things like sovereign citizens in Australia and people critical of Australia's COVID policies back during the pandemic. And she then tries to conflate this with people who are pushing back against the government regulations regarding, we went over the online stuff, trying to get people to submit personal information under the guise of protecting kids and all that. So I guess, when their rhetoric of, oh, we're doing this to protect the children is failing and everyone's...
Well, Eminency, to your point, yes, I have not heard about Australia having a significant migrant problem, which is not surprising. It's not surprising given Australia's geographic location. Australia's geographic location does not exactly make it the most convenient place for basically illegal immigrants to try and sneak into. Rhyme, I'm not saying you don't have any. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that you don't have any at all. Not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, as I understand it, and Rhyme, you live there? You live there, so you tell me if this is correct. It doesn't seem like it is as significant of a problem like we are seeing in the UK, like we are seeing in the US, like we are seeing in Canada. That illegal immigration doesn't seem as overbearingly prevalent like in those other countries. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but because one of the things that we hear about Australia with this basically draconian government overreach doesn't typically involve migrants or illegal immigrants, at least from what we've heard. Okay, and that's the point that I was making there, Ryan, is that it is not overbearingly prevalent in Australia versus the other countries because those other countries are simply easier to have access to. Australia is not as easy, is nowhere near as easy geographically to access as UK, EU, and North America. And so that's it. So you're not having the migrant issue, but obviously Australia is taking books from the UK's example of saying, well, shit, the UK's doing it and they're able to make it stick for now. We're going to do it too. And again, this is all seemingly conveniently happening at the same time around the fucking world. Around the fucking world, any of the major Western governments all of a sudden are saying, we need to face ID fucking everybody. We need to institute facial ID controls over access to the internet. And this was planned. This was fucking planned. There's no way to look at it other than this was somehow planned. How? I don't know. By whom? I also don't know. But this was planned. You don't have this happening all at the same time throughout the fucking world without it being all part of the plan. Yeah, and you guys are saying like the WEF, there's the, what was it, the 5 points? Someone said something before. It's like the 5 points, the 5 lighthouses. I can't remember exactly where it's basically, the UK, Australia, US, and the Five Eyes. That's right, the Five Eyes. Thank you, Anton. Yeah, there's the Five Eyes, which the 5 major Western countries. They're all in communication with one another. They all work together on stuff. This was fucking planned. This was a plan to exert authoritarian control over the populace. And if you say it's not, I'm sorry, you're fucking blind.
Calling it out. Then they try and bring up these other situations that have nothing to do with this, conflating it together very disingenuously to try and justify what the government is doing in trying to control people even more. So, yeah, I mean, that's the first 2 minutes of it. I'm going to skip ahead and show you right where she actually starts talking about these regulations and the action that she wants the government to take against the people and also against companies like YouTube, like this very platform.
But the extremes of these beliefs and the amplifying of these views on social media led to the murders of 2 policemen and a Queensland man in 2022 and the awful events that are still unfolding in Victoria today. And it's about time that we started putting real...
Brilliance, what's happening in Victoria? I'm not sure what she's referencing there. Can someone help me out from Australia of what is currently happening in Victoria that she's referencing why this draconian fucking measure is needed? Because is there some kind of violence or something happening in Victoria? Oh, you had an Australian sovereign citizen kill people. Was it a single individual rhyme? It was a single Australian, sovereign citizen? A single individual that did this? It was a mass shooting in Victoria? Because she's referencing 2 police officers that were killed in 2022 at singles first, but they... Okay, so it was additional police in Victoria recently that were this person killed. Do they really think censoring the internet is going to stop this shit? This kind of shit was happening before the internet even was a thing. That's the key thing that people are that people in these governments are very conveniently forgetting is that these kind of events of, big killings, yesterday, okay, very recently, okay. But these kind of things happened before the internet, okay? You had people that fucking reading the newspaper and just talking with people, not even online, that would get this into their head and they would go anti-government, they would go anti-police, whatever, and would facilitate these attacks without the internet. Censoring the internet is not going to put a cork in this. It's not going to stop it. Like, as a point of fact, I'd love to know if there's actually, like, empirical data, like peer-reviewed empirical data that substantiates that that social media has actually caused a rise in going after police in Australia. I would love to see some kind of stats, some kind of data that's legitimate, that's just not pulled out of someone's ass, and it was just, I made it the fuck up, that social media has actually increased this kind of behavior, as opposed to before the internet was effective.
Pressure on the social media companies to control the mis and disinformation that these algorithms pump out. You're not doing anything. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Didn't you ever hear of the National fucking Enquirer? Okay, there have been trash rags that have been pumping out information for literally decades. That was around long before the internet was even a fucking thing. Misinformation is not new. There have been rags that have been made by people by bad actors, by people deliberately pushing bullshit messages, by pushing lies. This has been a thing since the beginning of fucking time. The internet is the latest version, and you getting all pissy about misinformation like this and saying we have to basically lock down the internet and take it away from people unless you give up your face to access it is fucking dystopian. This is fucking authoritarianism, because this has been around long before the internet happened, and I didn't hear about governments saying that media like the National Enquirer or all the other type of rags that were publishing flat out fucking lies should have been ripped from the shelves. They stayed around forever and are still in existence today. Where is your outrage against those publications that print outright fucking lies? Where is your outrage about that? Oh, it ain't fucking there. Shocking.
Yeah, but the thing is, we've seen people, including politicians, journalists, and even like random Redditors here and there, saying this exact same thing, where they'll point out some alleged misinformation and then try and use that as justification to censor anyone who opposes their ideology. That's really what it comes down to.
In 2012, Facebook said its mission was, listen to this, and I quote, to expand and strengthen relationships between people, end quote. 13 years later, nothing has happened but the opposite. And Facebook, with other social media companies, including YouTube, all they do is fanning division and hatred within our communities. Extreme examples of this include the
It kind of seems like throwing stones from a glass house when she's saying that, doesn't it?
January 6th attack on the Capitol building in Washington in 2021, when Americans who believe Trump's lies that the 2020 election was rigged stormed the Capitol building, their own, and seriously wounding American Capitol Police.
Really think that wouldn't have happened without the internet? The man was getting on international television and saying that, and making the claims that the election was stolen, that the election was false, etc., etc. You really think that the internet caused that to happen? This man went on international fucking television to talk about this. You don't think that when he did that, even without the internet, that you wouldn't have groups get together and start planning something like this? I'm sorry, your argument is invalid. Your exact talking point here is fucking invalid. It doesn't work. And you've just basically proven that you don't have a fucking clue what you're talking about. You're beating down on the same fucking talking points that everybody beats down on, and using internet as the scapegoat for that, and it doesn't fucking work when the person in question that facilitated what occurred in the first place, again, I'm not saying anything in regards of January 6th should have happened, who's at fault, who's not at fault, not commentating on any of that whatsoever. But the fact that the individual who basically fostered and encouraged it was on international fucking media saying this over and over and over again, the internet had fuck all to do with that. That was all on him putting himself in front of TV cameras and saying that the election was stolen and that the election was false. The internet was in no way, shape, or form part of that. That was TV, that was radio, that was print media. Your argument is invalid. Shut the fuck up.
Since we got social media, we now have more countries in the world run by dictators. Work that one out, where people don't get free.
The internet has been around for 25, 30 fucking years. That's a long that's 3 fucking decades that the internet has been mainstream. 3 decades. Okay? Like what you are classifying as dictatorships, and again, using the word incorrectly, this is fucking gaslighting. Dictators have been around forever and a day. Well, Cody, I mean mainstream. The internet in use in mainstream form. Not in its infancy when it was not used by everybody. I'm talking about being used by everybody when it became mainstream. And Atsunashi, your point exactly. In dictatorships, the internet gets severely restricted. China, anyone? Like China is give it whatever label you want. Maoism, communism, authoritarianism, whatever fucking label you want to throw on it, they limit their internet usage. Russia, which is fundamentally being run as a dictatorship, severely limits the internet. North Korea, thank you, Reddit. North Korea severely limits its internet usage because it's a dictatorship. All of these actual dictatorships are the ones that lock down their internet and do not allow their citizenry to use it to see outside of their little bubble, because then they'll see that they're living in a dictatorship and may possibly rise up and revolt. So fuck you, you backwards ass cunt.
In fair elections and the civil rights that we enjoy. Social media companies know more about us than our governments do. They design their algorithms.
Is that jealousy I hear? That social media companies know more about people than their own governments do? Gee, that sounds like someone's jealous that they don't have everybody's personal information in some database that they can use against them. She just gave it up. What was supposed to be a throwaway line right there was her giving it up. She just spilled the spaghetti out of her pocket. She just took the mask off. The government wants your data the way social media gets it.
Gotcha, bitch!
One purpose in mind, to increase us clicking and increase their profits. It's just about money. They don't give a stuff about who we are.
I mean, yeah, obviously companies want money, and social media has arguably brought a lot of negatives to people. I think it has, but I don't trust her either. She comes off like she just wants all that power to herself.
Yeah.
If these algorithms can be so targeted, why can't they target mis and disinformation? Instead of the algorithm that sends Australians down these rabbit holes, serving them up more and more conspiracy theories that make them more afraid and more paranoid. We still don't have laws in this country that deal with truth and political advertising. You can't lie.
Yeah, she wants that ministry of truth. That's what she wants.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
But you can sure as hell lie in political campaigns. How is that leading by example and saying that is acceptable behaviour in Australia today? That is not.
Hey, you want to make the argument that lying during political campaigns is bad and should be addressed? That you cannot lie during political campaigns? All for it. And then for that, if you want to bring a motion to the floor about that lying during political campaigns should be that the individual in question, that the politician lying during political campaigns about their opponents should be censured, should be whatever, sure, go for it. That's not the same fucking thing as social media. Social media is not a political campaign. Okay? You want to go after your own politicians for lying? Go for it. You're going to have fuck all for success. It ain't going to work because these are politicians, and if they're breathing, they're lying. This is not the same fucking thing as people's right to free speech on social media. They are not the same thing.
Acceptable behaviour. We need to get onto this.
Well, obviously, I don't think politicians should be lying. But to me, it seems like she's very selective about who she wants to allow to lie and not lie.
Exactly.
It is really trying to put pressure on the social media companies and start talking regulation.
Here we
What is
go.
your fear of social media companies? You lost control of social media when it comes to our kids, and if you think AI is
Oh yeah, think of the kids. Haven't heard that one before.
Yeah.
going to be any
Now, again, what's going on in some of the states where they say that children should not be allowed to use social media until they reach adulthood, I'm at that specific thing. Keep kids off of social media until they're adults. Cool. I'm fine with that. Young children shouldn't be on social media, but you need to do that. You need to start with the parents on that. You need to start with the parents and start getting parents to actually start seeing what their kids are doing and getting parents to actually parent and get their kids off social media. That's the number one fucking thing there. There's no addressing of how about we actually get parents to actually start fucking parenting again instead of A, sticking a tablet in front of them day in and day out and just walking away, and B, actually actually doing their job as fucking parents and actually interact with the kids as parents, not as their friends. Parents need to stop being their kids' friends and start being their parents, which means your kids are going to get pissed off at you. That you are, in the course of being a parent, going to do something your kids don't like. And they're going to get pissed off at you. And for a brief moment in time, they may hate you because you don't let them go out or because you get them off the computer and you limit their computer time. Yeah, they're going to hate you momentarily, but that's part of what being a parent is you make the hard choices that your kids are not going to like because it's a better thing for them. If you can't handle doing that as a parent, you shouldn't be a parent in the first place. You should have thought about that before you became a parent. And now, because parents have refused to actually be a parent, now you have allowed for the government to go, well, if you're not going to be a parent, we will, and turn your country into a fucking nanny state and an authoritarian state. Good job.
different in the future because you're already miles behind. You are bloody delusional yourselves. That is the truth of the matter. You must get onto this. You must show some courage. Do you know it got so bad during COVID? I had people in Tasmania telling me that serum going into their arms, it was forming a microchip. Well, I have you know I've had my body.
Oh, are you fucking kidding me? Is she really gonna try and use the bullshit we're getting microchipped by the COVID vaccine thing? Are you fucking kidding me? If this is your example of why social media should be censored, you've lost the fucking argument. Because you have any fucking concept of how massive that conspiracy theory got ripped through the social media space in North America. Like, I'm sorry, this is a piss poor fucking excuse to try and say, oh, well, someone in Tasmania said that I saw online that the vaccines are actually causing us to get microchipped. Yeah, I heard the same fucking argument too. You know what I thought when I saw that argument? Okay, so we got a crackpot over here. Moving on. Like, that sounds like it's more of a fault with your country's level of education than social media. If your countrymen, like in Tasmania, are so fucking uneducated that they see that and they don't immediately go, okay, yeah, that's a fucking lie, because they're actually educated and know the difference between someone spewing crackpot bullshit and reality, that's on you, sweetheart. That means that your education system is fucked. Maybe you should look at addressing that first before you start going into authoritarianism and locking people out of the internet unless they use their face to unlock it so you can track them.
Rate over time because of my back complaint. There are no microchips running around in my body.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think whatever she took was to put a microchip in there, but I gotta say, she's not making a compelling argument when she's like crashing out and her eyes are.
No, but she definitely seemed to have a side order of stupid with her breakfast that morning.
Rolling back in her head when she says that.
It's the misinformation, disinformation that is going on in social media. Okay, that is the reality of it, and we need to wake up in here because people are getting harmed because of it.
I totally messed up the rewind. I wanted to see the eyes rolling back again.
It's rate over time because of my back complaint. There are no microchips running around in my body.
Bro, oh my God.
That might actually be my thumbnail. I may need to actually make that be my thumbnail.
Gosh. And so, like I said, you know, to be fair, there were a few valid points regarding like social media companies being corrupt, politicians should not lie, but I don't trust this person when she's talking about regulating social media platforms to stop spreading misinformation and or disinformation. To me, what she really wants is her specific agenda to be allowed and anyone critical of it to be censored, right? That's how I'm taking this. And I've seen a lot of politicians say that.
Because it's for the kids. I swear to God, every politician that tries to do legislation and tries to label it as for the kids, I swear to God, I want their hard drive checked. Every fucking one of them that tries to make an argument of we should censor shit for the kids, I kind of want their hard drive looked at. Because the ones that project the loudest have the most to hide.
The same exact stuff, and it all tends to play out the same way. These people want to control the flow of information because they don't want anyone to criticize their policies and their rhetoric. And so what does that amount to? She says, hey, be brave. Do the right thing. Be brave. And her definition of being brave is apparently don't question the government. Let us do whatever we want. And then the final thing she says as well, this is a classic line from politicians all over the world. That being, they make some sort of like perceived threat of violence. Like, oh, we like, you know, people are going to get harmed or violence is going to happen. That's why we need to take these measures to control people.
Okay, that is the reality of it. And we need to wake up in here because people are getting harmed because of it.
Yeah, so that's always like another massive red flag from a politician.
Check your stats. Lady, check your fucking stats. I would wager that more people have lost their lives for reasons other than social media. My guess is social media is not the number one threat to human life in your country. Just at a guess. Maybe it's all of the nature that's literally it, that is its existence is there just to kill you, might have something to do with it. Maybe it might have to do with, I don't know, drug issues, like the firebombing of journalists' houses by mob and government working together. I'm gonna hazard a guess that social media is kind of on the lower end of the scale when it comes to a threat to human life.
Says that. I've seen far too many politicians use that exact rhetoric to try and justify, as mentioned, government controlling people even more, censoring people even more, basically trying to stop and censor anyone who would be critical of them in any way, shape, or form, etc., etc. I thought this comment was interesting. It says, Tassie, how has she gone from the great hope to censoring us, enemy of the people? It's incredibly how quick they can be flipped on a dime. So apparently some Australians saw her as the great hope at some point in time, at least, you know, according to that comment. Which
Really? So how the turns tabled? What once was hope has now become the enemy. So she literally made the grave mistake is she lived long enough to be the villain. Not that I'm okay, that actually sounded really bad. I'm not seeking, I don't wish harm upon this woman, but bear that in mind. I don't seek harm to this woman in any way, shape, or form. But she kind of just exemplified you die a hero, but I don't want her to die, not at all, where you live long enough to become the villain. So she has lived long enough to become the villain.
Really doesn't tell us all that much, but I thought that was a bit interesting. The more she speaks, the more deranged she sounds.
Yeah.
I mean, I already said if I can't get over her being like, there's no microchip in my body, and her eyes are like freaking glitching and she's like spazzing out, like, bro, like, if you're gonna say that, at least try to sound like normal when you say that. Like, it's just not a good look, right? It just, look, I'm gonna say it as nicely as possible. It just makes her look silly, okay? And then, yeah, let's take a look at this one. Lambie is clearly poisoning the well with some random story she found about microchips and Bill Gates. By the same metrics, we should call all politicians stupid because Lambie talks.
No, swapped.
Yeah, again, like the first 2 minutes of the video was her bringing up like Australian sovereign citizens and stuff like that and trying to conflate it with people critical of the Australian government and like these regulations they're trying to enact on people for things as simple as using Google Maps. Oh, you want to use Google Maps? Okay, submit your biometric data and let us have like 24/7 location tracking on you as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's just all kinds of ridiculousness. But hey, that's the latest from Australia. Let me know what you guys think about this stuff in the comments. Hope you enjoyed my coverage. If you did, please consider liking and or subscribing. Helps out greatly. Appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.
Holy crap. Yeah, that was psycho levels of holy shitness right there. Yeah, Australia is very quickly getting close to Australia is speed running catching up with the UK right now.